In addition to measuring raster cells, we also can measure raster distributions, where we summarize value and cell distributions. And we can use global, local, focal, and zonal statistics to measure distributions. And we'll focus first on the global and local statistics. Global statistics summarize values for the entire raster data set, and they're required for certain display properties and analyses. You cannot run certain analyses without generating the statistics first, so the software knows, for example, what the minimum and maximum values are. The types of statistics we calculate for the entire raster data set include min, max, mean, and standard deviation. And if you look in the example on the right in the catalog pane, I've right-clicked on the land cover NLCD raster data set and selected Calculate Statistics. And that opens up the Calculate Statistics geoprocessing pane, where I select that raster data set and click Run. You can also calculate statistics in the geoprocessing pane in the data management toolbox under the raster properties tool set, where you find the Calculate Statistics geoprocessing tool. Once you calculate statistics, if you right-click the raster data set in the catalog pane and select properties, it'll open up the properties and you can see the statistics. In this case, for the land cover NLCD raster data set, you can see the min value is 11, the max value is 95, the mean value is around 45, and the standard deviation is around 21. While global statistics calculate value and cell distributions for an entire raster data set, local statistics concentrate on an individual cell that is coincident with other raster data sets and their cells at that particular location. So local statistics summarize values for coincident cells in multiple rasters. You can imagine a bunch of rasters stacked on top of each other, and where there's a column of cells, you can calculate the statistics for that column. But if you only have one input raster, the output cell values will all be the same. If you look at the diagram in the lower right-hand corner, you can see an example of how local statistics works. There's 3 in rasters and 1 out raster in this example. So if you could imagine in raster 1, in raster 2, and in raster 3 stacked on top of each other, in which, for example, the cell in the upper left-hand corner are all stacked on top of each other, then in the output raster, you get the cell statistics. In this case, I'm calculating the sum statistics. So the cell in the upper left-hand corner is calculated in the output as null data because in raster 3 is null data. Now, if we go down to the lower left-hand corner, the cell in the output raster is calculated as 8, and that is because the in raster 1 is 4, in raster 2 is 3, and in raster 3 is 1. So 4 plus 3 plus 1 is 8. In ArcGIS Pro, the local statistics tool is called Cell Statistics, and you can find it in the Spatial Analyst toolbox in the local tool set, and there you can see the Cell Statistics geoprocessing tool. The other 2 ways we measure raster distributions are focal statistics and zonal statistics. Focal statistics summarize values for cells within a neighborhood, for example, a 3x3 cell neighborhood. And it's not always a rectangle. You can actually use things like a circle, a wedge, or even an annulus, which is basically a donut shape. In the diagram on the right, I'm utilizing a 3x3 cell rectangle neighborhood. And so I've got my in raster, and there you can see my neighborhood represented by the red rectangle. And since it's a sum statistic, I'm calculating the value of all the cells in that neighborhood to calculate the value of that one particular cell that's highlighted in the out raster. So the out raster, the value is 13. And if you add up all of the cells in the neighborhood, 0 plus 3 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2, that equals 13. You'll find the focal statistics in the geoprocessing pane in the Spatial Analyst Tools toolbox in the neighborhood tool set, not the focal tool set. It's neighborhood focal means the same thing in GIS, and they've just called it the neighborhood tool set. So you got to dig in there and you'll find the focal statistics geoprocessing tool. Zonal statistics summarize values for cells within a zone. And the input zones can be a raster or feature. In the example in the lower right-hand corner, I'm utilizing a raster data set to represent my zone. So the zones are identified as 0, 1, 2, and 4. And there you can see my value raster, and I'm utilizing the min statistic to determine the minimum value that occur in each of the zones. So we'll start with zone 4. That's the easiest, and you can see that in the value raster, there's a 3 and no data set in zone 4. So the minimum statistic is 3. Now, if we look at zone 2, in the value raster, there's a 1, 2, and a 2. So the minimum statistic applied to the entire zone is a 1. You can find the zonal statistics tool again in the spatial analyst toolbox in the zonal tool set, and there you can see the zonal statistics tool.